Today's the day. It's my first video in my Reading the Oscars vlog where I'm gonna read all of the books that were all of the I don't know how to word this, all of the books that are movies that are nominated at the Oscars. My first book that I'm starting out with is Wicked. I'm starting out strong with this one right out of the gate. There is one that I have read previously, and I've read all of the Wild Robot books, and I will recap that at the end of the video. But here's to Wicked. All right, so I'm about 25% into Wicked, and I just have some thoughts to update everybody on. I knew it was going to be different than the musical and the movie, but I don't think I was prepared for how different it was going to be. There are a lot of differences, and a lot of differences that I actually really enjoy. I really loved the in-depth background we got on Elphaba's family, and I also really love the exploration into the politics of Oz. I think that's fascinating, and I really have been enjoying that. And I think there's just more that you get to learn about Shiz and how the whole system in Land of Oz works. And I think that that's really cool to think about. So I'm enjoying it so far. It was a little bit rough to get into at first, but once I get into it, I was good, and now I'm really liking it. So yay. Why did they kill Dr. Dillerman? I wasn't expecting it. It was really sad. Wow. Yeah. And everything kind of happens in a different order in the book too, a little bit. I would love to hear the process of taking this book and turning it into a musical, just because tonally they're very different. I don't know. But why did they kill him? Why are they killing everybody? Alma Clutch is dead. Oh my god. They're at a strip club? This is a wild book to read right after the inauguration. Also, I can't believe that they actually kissed. They kissed. Guys, this book is so good. Sing Sing, I haven't read the article yet, but I am floored by how amazing that movie was. And I am sad that they did not get more nominations. Out of all the ones I saw, that was in the top 5. It was so emotional, but hopeful, but wow. It was just so good. I'm shocked that Clarence Macklin didn't get a nomination for supporting, because he was so good. Oh my god. That's a movie that I'm just gonna think about a lot. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be thinking about it. So yeah. Alright, I read the article that Sing Sing is based off of, and it was really interesting. I am fascinated by this story. I absolutely loved the movie. The acting was good, the screenwriting was good, I was invested, I loved it, right? I'm so interested to see how they made that short article into a movie. I need to do more research, because it's just so interesting, and it's such a cool story, and it makes me so happy. Happy in a way that art and theater can really transcend so many boundaries, and it can really heal people, and that makes me I don't know, it's very bittersweet. The movie's bittersweet. The article, I think, was well written. I just think it's very interesting. So, all right, I'm starting Dylan Goes Electric. I know next to nothing about Bob Dylan. I don't know much about him. I think I know some of his songs, but nothing really about his life. Very excited to read it. I like a good nonfiction. Hopefully this is an easy nonfiction to digest and stuff, so I'm excited. I have no idea how this video is going to turn out, because my phone is kind of freaking out right now, so we'll see. But I am about 50% through Dylan Goes Electric, and I started this book. I got about 10% through, and I had no idea what was going on, to be honest. It's a really well-researched book, don't get me wrong, but I was so unfamiliar with all of the people that they were talking about that a lot of it didn't make sense to me. Well, then I saw the movie. And first of all, the movie is great. I absolutely love the movie. The acting was great. Timothy was great. The sound was great. Like, you can hear every, like, crunch of a footstep. So good. So, like, unique, I think. And lots of really good parts about the movie. But now I understand the book a lot more, and it actually has become way more interesting to me to read the book because it goes into way more detail than the movie did. Obviously, it's a really big book. It's like 12-hour audiobook. So I really like it so far. Yeah. My hair may look bad, but that's okay. I'm 25% through Conclave. To be quite frank, I have watched the movie before I even started this book. I loved the movie. It was one of my favorite movies that it was one of the best movies I've ever seen. So I was super excited to read the book. And something that really stands out to me so far about the book is how well researched it is. It's incredibly well researched, and I think it really shows. Another thing that's really stood out to me, just comparing it to the movie so far, only, a fourth of the way through, is it is like scene by scene accurate to the book. It is so close to the adaptation. This might be one of the best adaptations I've seen / read because of how accurate it is. I think that the author does a really good job of setting up the conflict, and I think that this book and movie could be boring, but the way that the author writes it makes it not boring. I'm invested in the characters, even if I don't care about the conclave. And the author does a really good job of explaining all of these very Catholic, or all of the Catholic traditions about conclave very, very, very well. So I have a very limited knowledge of the Catholic Church and and conclave in general. I can still understand what's going on, and I think that's really valuable, especially when you're talking about the characters and stuff. I'm really excited to see. I feel very invested. I already like the movie, so maybe that is like shrouding my judgment a little bit, but I feel so invested, and I think that's going to make the book just that much better. And it's incredible to see how well this book translates to film, but also how well the book is. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. The book is so well written. Like, the characters feel so real, and I didn't really expect that. I'm a little more than 50%, like 66%, so like 2/3. And the one thing that has stood out to me the most is the character that Stanley Tucci plays in the movie. He must have like modeled his character's voice right after the narrator. I'm listening to it on audiobook because the way that they're speaking is exactly the same. Like, exactly the same. It's not even the pronunciation, it's just like the cadence in which they're speaking. It's like I close my eyes when I'm listening and it sounds exactly like Stanley Tucci saying it in the movie. I just thought that was interesting. Other than that, it's really good. It's still very, very, very accurate to the movie, which I really enjoy. Nothing more to say so far. I'm enjoying. I like it. I think that the book, I usually think books are better, but I think specifically in this book we get way more into the main character's head, which I think is helpful, and I actually think we learn more about the process of conclaves, which I also really like. I'm 90% way through this book, and I just realized that the main character has a different name. I was wondering why I couldn't remember his name. I was like, who is this man? And I just realized it's because they changed his name in the movie. I think it's because they changed it to a more Americanized last name. His last name is Lawrence, and my guess is that's probably easier for audiences than Lamelli, which is what it is in the book. I also thought it was interesting that in the book they go into more detail about the explosion, and in the movie they leave it more up to interpretation and don't give a lot of specifics. Granted, the book doesn't give many more specifics, but I do think it's interesting. So yeah, still very accurate. That's all I'm going to say about this book, is it's accurate and I like it and it's well researched. Alrighty, so I finished Conclave. I really enjoyed it. Overall, my thoughts land with this. The book and the movie are nearly identical with like three things that they changed. That being Cardinal Lawrence, or Lamelli's name, the reason behind the attacks in the square, or the reason behind the like car bombing, whatever that was, the reason behind the attack, and Cardinal Lawrence slash Lamelli's last vote in the conclave. I thought, now, part of this might be skewed because I watched the movie first, but what I thought was the most interesting was the vote. I actually enjoyed that we didn't get to hear all of the details about the attack in the book or in the movie, because I think it made it more, not mysterious, but I think not knowing everything aided the plot a little bit better than knowing so much. I think when you know too much information, similar to the conclave, it kind of skews your thoughts. But like I said, the most interesting thing was Cardinal Lawrence's final vote. In the movie, I remember watching it, and during that last vote, I was like, there's no way that Lawrence doesn't win. Like, I fully believed that he was going to be the Pope, right? And I think that's really interesting because in the book, they make it, the narration in the book makes it seem like it's not absolutely, like, it's not absolute. But in the book, you realize that Lamelli thinks he's going to win. He truly believes that he's going to win. You know, he starts running his speech, the whole thing, right? So I think it's really interesting that when you have different mediums, you're able to achieve the same effect different ways, right? So in the movie, we as the audience are thinking like Lawrence, and we're like, there's no way he doesn't win, even though we know that Benitez has shown a great deal of strength, right? But in the book, it's more open-ended, but we know that Lawrence thinks that he's going to win. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. The other thing I remembered is that they changed the ethnicity of Benitez, which I don't really think had a huge difference on the plot. I think the ending is all the same. All of that is the same. So I don't really think his nationality or ethnicity means that much in regards to the plot. But please correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to hear more opinions on that specifically. But yes, I think Conclave in general is one of my favorite adaptations. And when I eventually make a video on my favorite and least favorite movie and TV show adaptations, this will be on the list, because this was one of the best adaptations, because not only was it very close to the book, the things that they changed actually aided the plot, and the things that they changed worked better in the visual version. The things that they changed worked better that way. So all in all, great movie, very fun. All right, I'm 50% through Nickel Boys. I'm really liking it. I really, really, really love the writing. The way that the author tells the story is so good, and I am really enjoying that specifically. I think the characters are incredibly well-rounded. I am shocked and blown away by how well the author can use the characters and how developed they are. I feel like I really know them despite not having spent a lot of time with them, and I am really curious. I know that the book is based on a real event and the movie is based on the book, so I'm curious about how all of that goes, and I'm curious about how they adapt this. I think this is an incredible story and one that would work really well on screen, and I've heard really good things about it. I know, like, when you have a really good book, it's hard to then also make a really good movie, but I've heard that this one kind of is the exception to that, and that both are really good, so I'm kind of really excited to do that. I have no idea what's going to happen. What's interesting is that the book is told in past tense, you know, but they will, it'll say, you know, and that was the last time that blank, 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 you know what I mean? So I think that's really interesting too, but yeah, I'm excited. All right, I finished the Nickel Boys. That book. I'm like speechless. I just finished it like 20 minutes ago, and I like still don't have the words to describe. First of all, the book itself was absolutely phenomenal. The writing was so good, so rich. The details were very good. Again, the characters, amazing. The plot twists, what? Yeah. I just think the whole book in and of itself was super, well, one, it was a super ambitious book to write in the first place, but it was so incredibly effective and so well executed that I'm like shocked that it took them this long to make a movie. Now I'm like so excited to watch the movie and see like what the changes are and all of that stuff. I think that the overall message of the book was well done. I think at times the book was hard to read. Like it was a good wake-up call, I think, to like injustice. But I think that like you have to sit in the uncomfortability of it. Like you have to understand how messed up the world is and how yeah, I wish I had more coherent thoughts, but I don't. I'm absolutely blown away. I was confused a little bit in the middle, and then once I got back on it, I just, wow. And I think the ending was like super poetic too. I don't want to say too much about the ending because that plot twist is really, really, really good, and I really liked it. But wow, yeah. Well, it's after the Oscars. This video is going to be late. But that's because I just finished watching Nickel Boys like literally an hour before the Oscars started. I loved it. It was amazing. I really, really, really liked the cinematography. I don't think they changed too much in the story, which I enjoyed. The things that they did change, I understood. I know they took some stuff away from his childhood. But other than that, it was pretty accurate. I really enjoyed it. I want to talk about the POV for a minute, how they've shot it in first person, which at the beginning, when it's like during Elwood's childhood, I was like, oh, they're probably only shooting his childhood like this, and then it's gonna flip to like a regular, like, you know, third person, whatever, point of view. But as I was watching it, knowing the ending of the movie, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, they can do some amazing things here at the end because of the point of view that they're shooting from. I saw a lot of people say that they felt that the first person point of view was limited, but I didn't think so. I actually thought that it opened up a lot of really interesting points of views that we wouldn't get to see. And if it was limiting, maybe that's the point. You know what I mean? Like, as the character, like Elwood and Turner only have the information that they have. They don't have the information of everything. So it's like we're watching the story from their lens, from everything unfolding that way. And it works. It works so well. I really liked in the end when, I mean, like, they show old Elwood / Turner, like from behind the shoulders. And I liked that callback when, at the end of the movie, I really liked it. I'm really, really, really glad that it was made. I'm really, really sad that it lost a lot of things. But ultimately, I think it was a great movie, a great adaptation. So, all right, I finished Dune. I really liked it. I don't know if I'm gonna finish the series, which is kind of weird to say. I just don't know like where it's gonna go from here. To be fair, I know sort of how Dune ends, at least like the first part of the series. Like, I understand like the whole concept of it and everything. But the world building in this book was so good. And I also really liked the characters. It was sort of annoying that the female characters were only there, in my opinion, to like further the plot, and like the only reason that they were there is to provide like, so that they were all mothers. That was sort of annoying. But I really liked the whole concept of the book. I really like again, the world building, I think, is what made the book so good. And because the world building was so rich, I think that's why the movie is going to be so good. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm really excited to see how they interpret it all for the screen. I'm particularly excited to see how they do like the riding of the sandworms. I think that'll be really cool. And also, like, I know what the sandworms look like in the movie because I've seen like pictures, but I'm just curious to see how like it's all gonna move because I feel like I haven't seen any like video of it all. So I'm really excited. Final thoughts, just that I thought it was really good. The world building was really good. I think I'd rate it like 4 stars. It was a solid book. The characters were well developed ish, and I think some of the characters are well developed, but I think the whole concept is really what drives the book and the story, and I think the plot is also good. So I'm a Dune fan. I love Dune. That movie was phenomenal. My only critiques about Dune Part 1 and 2, the movie, is that I just think it's like slightly too long. I think they could have condensed it all into one movie. I know why they didn't, and the visuals were stunning. The movie was stunning, don't get me wrong. I kind of wish that they would have just done it in one movie instead. It's a lot to sit down and watch at once. But at the same time, it doesn't really feel like you're watching as much as you are. Like, it seems a lot shorter than it is. Similar to how I felt about Wicked. I was like, well, it's a really long movie. But when you sit down to watch it, it doesn't feel like it's 3 hours. And I felt similar about Dune. But I think what Dune does really well on screen is the performances that those actors are giving are like life-changing. I wish it would win more awards. I wish people would like see sci-fi and fantasy as a valid art form, because especially in movies, because I feel like especially at the Oscars, like Mad Max didn't get anything. Like there's a lot of like sci-fi and fantasy movies that don't get a lot of awards, except if like Gravity and Interstellar, things like that. But even they didn't get a lot of awards, and I think it's kind of a missed up. I didn't finish my thoughts on Dune because my phone died. But yes, historically, sci-fi films are not rewarded at award shows, which I think is sad, because I think they have a really cool opportunity and a really cool storytelling in sci-fi especially is really important, I feel like, and I'm sad that they don't get more awards. But I also think, like, especially in sci-fi and fantasy, you're building a new world, and one, you have to build that world visually, but your actors also have to sell that world. And in Dune, like, I bought it all. I mean, like, obviously I had read the books, and I think, like, in books it's a little bit different with like what you can do with your worlds, but then on screen, because it's a different group of people that are watching and reading the books. But yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity for them to lose out on so many amazing awards. I wish that the Academy would nominate acting in those specific categories, and they really don't get a lot of love. Same thing with horror, and we saw that last night. So it's time to talk about The Wild Robot. So I read the whole trilogy of the Wild Robot books last year, like, I don't know, mid last year, summer, around when the movie came out is when I read them. And I told myself that I wasn't going to watch the movie until I read the books. So I read all the books, and I was very interested to see how they were going to turn this into a movie. And this is a hard adaptation for me, because I love the books and I love the movie separately. Like, I don't know how to describe it, because they're really not that similar. Like, the general idea is the same and some of the plot points are the same, but the movie and the book are quite different in a lot of the content. And it's one of those things where it doesn't really bother me. You know what I mean? Like, that they're different, it doesn't bother me. Different than Conclave, because Conclave to me felt like it was making specific intentional decisions on things to change. This, I don't know why they changed some of the things that they changed. Like, they took out, there's a scene in the book with like these little bears, and I loved that scene in the book, and I was sad that it wasn't in the movie. It's things like that. I actually think the beginning of the movie is phenomenal when Roz is sitting down with all the animals and she's like watching everything go around. Like, that's a great use of like imagery. And yes, things have to change when you're doing an adaptation, because it's not the same media, it's not the same format. So yes, things are going to be different, and I'm okay with that. It was just shocking to me how different it was going to be, because I didn't think it was going to be that different. Sorry, this like cord from my heated blanket is over here. I just wasn't expecting the difference to be so stark. But At the end of the day, I think it's okay because I love the book and I love the movie. I kind of hope they make more movies. I think my favorite book is the middle book actually in the trilogy. And I'd be so interested to see how they do it. Although I think that the last book, though has the most obvious message, is a pretty strong message and one that might resonate with the audience. I don't really know. Love the movie. The sound was absolutely phenomenal. And I've thought that for a while, ever since I saw it. But I saw it more recently again. And it's just such a well done movie. Like, it's so emotional. I really like it. Yeah, that's all I really can say about the movie. So, yes. I say yes. My stamp of approval. Stamp. No. Like I said, I like the books, I like the movie, I like them very separately. I miss some of the things that were in the book, but I also like some of the things that they added in the movie. I think the movie ultimately flowed the best that it could. I wish there were just a few additions from the book that were there, because they are pretty different. But that's okay. I'm not mad about it because I like the movie so much that it just didn't bother me that it wasn't the same, or wasn't exactly the same. So